Summertime, it is getting hot, hot, hot out here. And when it does, when that water temperature gets up there, the inshore flats fishing can get tough. And that's when you see a lot of people switch over to either live bait or cut bait. But just because you have that cut bait doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to catch something. You have to put it in the right place. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to show you some examples, some types of places that you should be soaking your cut bait for your best opportunities to get on some fish. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first spot that we're going to talk about grass flats. And the reason why grass flats can be good in the heat of the summer is, one, especially if there's a lot of grass, is that grass can provide shade and it also provides dissolved oxygen. So the plant life is just going to put out oxygen, and it's going to help these fish out in the heat of the summer. So grass flats are good. We don't want to just put our bait anywhere though. We want to make sure and put our bait where that fish is going to be. And one of the best places on a grass flat is going to be your potholes. So your potholes are going to be places that the redfish and your trout and your snook and your flounder, they use those as ambush points. So putting your bait in a pothole is going to be a good bet. Now I'm showing you a mangrove shoreline. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mangrove shoreline. It could be a grass shoreline. It could be, basically anything. But if you can find one that's got a nice deeper cut that runs right along it, these fish are going to use it as a highway to move up and down there. Great place to put out your cut bait. There we go. Got our first bite. We'll see what this is. Hopefully it's a redfish. We'll see. Drag was stripping. The rod doubled over in the rod holder. Yeah, that definitely feels like a redfish for sure. But yeah, like I was saying, all you have to do is just place your bait where these fish are going to travel up and down. You don't, one thing that's negative about about cut bait, live bait in particular, it's not really the best search bait. Your best search baits are going to be artificial lures. That's the advantage that they have. But if you know where the fish are, if you know where they're going to be, then it is hard to beat that live bait or that cut bait. Yeah, it looks like we got a nice red here. He's getting clogged up with weeds, so he's kind of giving up a little bit. Let me get my net ready here. Got him up to the boat, and he did not like the looks of that, so he decided to take off a little bit more. It's a good size red. Now, what you want to do whenever you're fishing for these, in the heat of the summer, get these things, beat pretty good. Put a lot of pressure on them and get them to the boat quickly, because, this hot water temperature and this low dissolved oxygen, it's gonna put a hurting on these fish whenever they're fighting. So try to end that fight as quickly as possible. There we go, fish number 2. This one doesn't feel as big. Oh, no, we have got a black drum. Wow. Usually you don't get black drum on mullet. That is an odd catch, but you never know. See, that's the thing about cut bait. You never know what you're going to catch. Typically in saltwater, that's true. You're going to have a targeted species, but when you're throwing this cut bait out there, everything will eat it. Let's get this guy in. There we go. Made quick work of him too. So that is the great thing about circle hooks, is they do a good job of hooking the fish where you want them to be hooked. Look how dark he is. Let him go. So I'm going to pull up the Smart Fishing Spots app, and I'm going to show you exactly the type of spot that I'm fishing. So if we look at the app here, and we can see the map, what we've got is we've got a shoreline that's got that deeper area that's right against it. So that is a deeper spot that is going to be what we call the redfish highway, or the fish highway for that matter. And that's where these fish are going to patrol up and down that shoreline whenever they're looking for their food. So if you can find an area like that, that's got some wind on it, that has got some bait in the area, this is a good spot to start fishing. Okay, got another fish. I'm fishing literally that same pothole. It probably doesn't come out on camera. Water's a little bit dirty, but yeah, I just keep throwing it in the same area. And this cut bait is not sitting there 5 minutes. As soon as it gets down there to the bottom, I'll start getting little pecks, like from pinfish, little nuisance type fish. And then all of a sudden the rod will just double over. I think what happens is that those nuisance fish, those little pinfish, they start pecking at that, and it gets the attention of these predatory fish. And they're going to go over there and investigate it, because I'll tell you what, one thing a predatory fish doesn't ever want to do is miss a meal. So if they see something feeding on something, they're going to go check it out a lot of times. Another black drum. That's a little better size there. Get him back in the water. There we go. I literally rebaited it, threw it out there, and it was probably, this is a bigger fish. I think this might be a redfish that we're after. But it was out there, not even 30 seconds. Not even 30 seconds. This is a good sized fish here. Nice red. I think it was a red. Yep, nice red. Now I switched over to the medium heavy setup, and the reason why I did that is, again, because these warm waters, I want to make sure and be able to land these fish rather quickly and not give them any undue stress. Okay, as much as I hate leaving fish to go find other fish, you know, we've got definitely an area that's being productive, but the idea of this video is to show you the types of places that you need to be fishing this cut bait. So I'm going to leave this spot, and we're going to head over to that next spot. Okay, so here is the next type of spot that you should check out when you're using cut bait. What we've got is we've got a shallow flat that comes out, and then it drops off into the ICW right here. You can probably see the channel markers. This is the ICW right here. So we've got, you know, it's not even a foot deep over there, and then it just kind of drops off a little bit gradually, and then it just drops way off. So how you would position yourself and how you would fish this area is you would get right on that first drop off where it goes from, say, 1 or 2 foot down to 3 foot, maybe 4 foot, and you would put a bait right there, and then you'd put one deeper. And what happens is this is kind of a redfish highway where these fish will move up and down the shoreline here, and that's how they kind of move throughout the area. So if they're up shallower, you'll have a bait there ready for them in that shallow zone, and then when you put a bait out here deeper, if they're, you know, traveling up and down the ICW, you know, in the deeper areas, you'll be ready for them then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pass this island up. I'm not seeing any, you know, bait fish activity or really any signs of life here. So I'm not going to waste my time here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the next spot and I'm going to show you that. Hopefully we'll see some activity there and pick up some fish. But this is a good spot, but I like it better if the wind is blowing directly on it. Okay, so here is another spot that I really like, and this is a constriction point. And a constriction point is just where, you know, the body of water, you know, goes down into a small area, and that could be anything. It could be a drain from a back lake. It could be, you know, an opening in the mangrove that goes to a back area. So if you look, we've got a cove right here, and if we pan over, this whole area is just wide open. You can go for miles in that direction, and it's a couple of 100 yards wide at least in every spot right here. But if these fish are traveling along in this direction, they're forced to go in this narrow, maybe 20-yard wide cut right there. And in this situation, it's kind of unique where they'll go over here, they can't go any further, and if they want to come out of this cove, they have to come back through this cut. So this cut is where these fish are going to travel. Again, where we want to put our cut bait is where we know these fish are moving in and out of. So this is a prime example. And again, it's going to look different in your area. So, you know, if you're fishing mangroves, you know, you could have a, you know, a cove with a, you know, with a, you know, a cut like this. If you're fishing an area that's got a lot of marshes with back wood area, you know, it could be a drain that's coming out of that. So anything that's going to concentrate that water and it's going to make those fish go in a certain direction, that's where you want to be. So this place is pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a bait out there. I'm going to let it sit for a little bit. We're going to see what happens and see if we can pick something up. Okay, so now that I got the bait out there, let's go ahead and talk about the equipment. Hopefully we'll get interrupted here, but either way. Now the rod that I'm using is the medium power slam stick. This one's by Salt Strong. The reel is an Otis 2500. It is filled with 10-pound Daiwa J-Braid, and I'm using 20-pound leader with that circle hook. So that's the setup I'm using today for the slot size fish. For the bigger fish, I'm going to be using a medium heavy power slot machine. I've got a 3000 sized reel. It's got 15-pound braid on it, and I'm using 30-pound leader. That way, if I run into one of those big fish, I can end that fight pretty quick. Okay, so I've had this cut bait sitting out for a little while. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. It is hot out here. They say this is supposed to be the hottest day of the year, and I'll tell you what, it's so hot the chickens are out here laying hard-boiled eggs. I'm ready to go in. So what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and get this in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and kind of describe the spots that we were talking about. The first spot when it comes to is grass flats. So when you get out there, the grass flats are a good place to look. But what we want to do is we want to look for those places that are going to have those fish highways, the places where the fish are going to be running up and down. So deeper, little deeper troughs that are next to the shorelines, whether it be a grass line, whether it be a mangrove line, and potholes. If you get wind-blown areas with the bait, all the better. So that's what we're looking for. If we can find areas like that, good place to set out your cut bait. The next place is going to be those flats, those shelves, if you will, that go off of the mainland and drop down into, whether it be a navigational canal, it could be an ICW like we have here, it could be a residential canal. So anything that's got, a fairly decent amount of deep water, that's another place to look at. So you want to put one bait shallow right on the edge of the drop off, and one a little bit deeper, so that way if the fish are running shallower or deeper, you're going to have both bases covered. And then the other type of area is going to be choke points. Anytime that's going to constrict that body of water down to a narrow area, and it's going to force those fish to go down there, that's going to let you know that these fish are moving through there, and that's going to be a good place to set your bait up. So same thing with that scenario, you want to set one a little bit shallow, a little bit deeper, and that way you got your depth covered. Now, I fish with a lot of artificial lures, but every once in a while I will use cut bait at situations like this when it gets hot out there. But I know there's a lot of people out there that use cut bait all the time, and I would love to hear from you. If there's a way that you use cut bait that I didn't mention in this video, drop that down in the comments below. And if you're looking for any of the equipment that I used in this video, make sure and check out fishstrong.com. And if you're an insider at Salt Strong, you're going to get huge discounts off of the tackle at fishstrong.com. Now, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you got any questions or comments, go ahead and put those down below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. As always, appreciate you watching, and I hope your next trip out on the water is a great one. Bye.